Now, before we start on our presentation, the 60 years of the Old Dundalk Society, I want to introduce you guys to Michael Gaynor, the president of the Old Dundalk Society.
Thanks for that wonderful introduction. Thank you. Can I say hi, everybody? You're all very welcome to the County Museum this evening. I think we have a full capacity crowd. And I'm delighted, I said, to welcome you here. In 2021, the Old Dundalk Society launched an initiative aimed at developing skills of research into local history among second-level students in Dundalk. The inaugural project was developed with transition students from Coláiste to Riche. In 2023, the project was extended to Coláiste to Chulainn. They selected the GNR as their theme. Following on from the previous lecture's success, Coláiste to Chulainn were re-invited to present a lecture to launch our Diamond celebrations. The Old Dundalk Society was founded in 1964, and we are 60 years in operation in October this year. A team of 10 students will take to the podium this evening, and they've adopted the successful, we all know it from our television, Reading in the Years. This formula was used to shine the light on Dundalk in 1964. The students have compiled over 80 slides featuring well-known locations and events such as Super Quinn, Magnet, the Adelphi Maytime Festival, ones we all remember. Of course, I don't remember quite a lot of them because of we all love stories, and storytelling brings history alive to what's happening today. History is not something obscure or unimportant. History plays a vital role in everyday lives. We learn from our past in order to achieve greater influence on our future. It is indeed important to protect, record and record local features and people of historical interest within our respective communities. It is imperative to preserve both the physical artefacts and the written word for the benefit of future generations. Look where we are here tonight. We are in the bowels of the warehouse that once belonged to P.J. Carroll's, the once famous cigarette manufacturer, who at one time employed over 1,000 people in the various factories through the turn of Dundalk. History comes alive when someone is not only read about it, but given the opportunity to study the actual and written words. These young people did avail of such an opportunity and gained valuable experience in the methodology of historical research, team building and performance. It is important to remember a concerted effort to preserve our heritage is a vital link to our cultural, educational and economic legacies. All of the things that we quite literally make up to who we are today. It gives me great pleasure to hand you over to Mana and Tea for this evening, Patricia Whelan. Patricia.
Michael, Ban and Tea. Only one of me. Only one of me. Unique. No, thank you. Yes, just want to. I mean, we're all dying for the lecture, so I'll just say a couple of wee things. Obviously, we're delighted to have our group here tonight. You can imagine how they're feeling, and I know you're very welcome. It's just like you're at home with your own families. All these people here are here to support you tonight, so you're going to be fabulous after all the great work that you've done with your team of teachers. Now, after they've done their presentation, normally we have a Q&A, but of course the Q&A tonight will be all of you now telling us who you clicked with in the Adelphi, who you didn't click with, whatever you were, whatever. So I know people have brought in some memorabilia and things tonight, so please feel free at the end of the evening. I'll come back and we'll have some nice shared memories. So let's put it together now for Coláiste to Chulainn.
Hello everyone, I'm Matea and I'll be presenting hope you enjoy. Oops, sorry. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed members of the Historical Society of Dundalk and guests, it is with great pleasure and reverence for our town's rich history that we, the TY students, Coláiste, Chulainn, stand before you today. We are here to celebrate the Old Dundalk Society and its 60th year. We hope this project shines a light on the magical past of Dundalk and the brilliant year that was 1964. Through exploring and researching this topic, as you guys can see on the right, we uncovered stories and histories that have helped us understand our town today, its people, and its roots. Our project will look at the year 1964 through the lenses of industry, housing, culture, and work. We hope that our work acts as a tribute to the age that was Dundalk 1964. Thank you for joining us. I really hope you guys enjoy. Why we chose this project. We have chosen this project to celebrate the Old Dundalk Society, highlight the important work it does in helping to keep the heritage of Dundalk alive. We've learned so much about our town in a way that has helped us feel connected, and it's even more interesting to walk through the town and to now know the meaning behind it, and how different things were back then compared to now.
History of the Old Dundalk Society. Established in 1964, the Old Dundalk Society stands as a bastion of heritage, preservation and community development in the town of Dundalk. Since its creation, the Society has remained steadfast in its mission to safeguard the rich tapestry of local history that defines Dundalk's identity. The Society's main goals are to actively promote the town's development and cultivate a deep respect for its history, keeping a close eye on the town's future. The organisation leads projects aimed to further Dundalk's general growth while equally honouring its past. Through meticulously planned events, exhibitions and educational programmes, as well as preservation efforts, the Old Dundalk Society endeavours to instill a sense of pride and appreciation for the town's heritage, among residents and visitors alike. By fostering a deeper understanding of Dundalk's past and present, the Society aspires to chart a course towards a vibrant and inclusive future for generations to come.
Last year's project. The TY students last year did a project and presentation on the Great Northern Railway. It was a great experience, and the students learned a lot from it. They presented on the development and history of the Great Northern Railway, and as we can see from these pictures, they worked very hard on it. Former presenters continue to partake in the fun by helping us with our project currently.
Pre-1960. The development of a country is a complicated concept that is hard to grasp. I myself can't imagine that only 60 years ago the average person did not walk around with their phone, cross the street with their phone. In fact, nobody had a phone. Ireland before the 1960s was a vast change from what we know now. The 1960s was a revolutionising era for Dundalk. Major supermarkets were formed, industry and the economy had skyrocketed. This would be the factor for why Dundalk was labelled the shoe capital of the world. Housing and living conditions. In the 1960s, Dundalk town was a bustling city with large families living in small houses. However, life was not always easy due to the lack of modern technology, toilets, clean water and coal for cooking and heating. This led to bronchitis and forced families to buy food daily to prevent spoilage. Cars were a luxury and many working class families could not afford them. Instead, they relied on bicycles or their own 2 feet for transportation. Visiting family or enjoying leisure activities required a day trip, as getting from one place to another took time and effort. Despite these challenges, the resilience and resourcefulness of those who lived in Dundalk town during that time are emphasised. They preserved making most of what they had and cherished the simple joys of life.
Before the introduction of big supermarkets in Dundalk, people would rely on smaller shops for their groceries, or markets like the egg and butter market at the square, which provided produce from local farms in the area. The pre-Christmas traditional turkey market took place every Christmas at Kelly's Monument. Over the years, this market attracted hundreds of buyers and producers, as many housewives would purchase their turkeys in the run-up to Christmas. For example, this is a picture of Mrs. Carroll and her baby at the market in 1952. This shows turkeys at Kelly's Monument, ready to be picked for Christmas dinner. People would have the turkey killed and plucked by willing men and boys who sat around Kelly's Monument. They would earn a few extra shillings as their income, and by the end of the day, the square would be covered in feathers. Although popularity declined as the years passed, with many relishing the idea of cleaning out the birds in the days before Christmas. As oven-ready turkey became more popular, the Committee of Agriculture decided to conclude the markets after November 1969, and the idea of an oven-ready turkey took off. Super Quinn. Super Quinn was established by Fergal Quinn, who opened his first store, Quinn Supermarket, on Combaster Street in 1960, which became the first big supermarket in Ireland, serving as a major influence to shops all over Ireland. Super Quinn inspired other supermarkets to be formed, and the idea of a supermarket became widespread and common. They were renowned for their fresh produce, and found success branching out to Dublin, opened 20 supermarkets overall. Their chain grew rapidly in Dundalk, and Carroll Village became the home of the local supermarket. Super Quinn closed its doors in Carroll Village in February 2009, but they live on through Super Value after they were branded in 2014. This shows how influential Super Quinn was, as Super Value now has the second highest market share of grocery stores in Ireland. In the late 60s, Dunn stores opened on Park Street to much excitement from the locals. They sold groceries and clothes. This shows the industrial prowess of Dundalk at the time. Two major supermarkets formed in Dundalk in the 1960s, although they both closed in February 2009.
Region in Dundalk, starting with Giles Street. Throughout the summer period of the 60s, the pier was crowded with many young people, sunbathing and diving off from the wall. The better swimmers would venture out on a raft acquired by the local swimming club 100 yards from the pier. Until one day, when tragedy struck at the pier in the mid-50s, when a young man drowned at high tide on a hot July Sunday afternoon. This incident led with great surge with the public opinion in the town was in favour of building a properly supervised swimming pool in the area. Giles's Quay was named after Ross Giles, who built a wood structure there in 1780. It was then later rebuilt in stone in 1824 and survives to this day. The long isolated beach with accessible hinterland made it very attractive to smugglers who used the beach before authorities constructed a Coast Guard watch station to limit illegal imports. Today, tourists are drawn to the area for the long beach and the caravan park located at the area. Black Rock Beach. After the emergency in World War II, most families would go out to Black Rock to paddle in the shallows on the strand. Unfortunately, many tragedies also occurred here, when people would venture out too far and get caught from the incoming tide. Black Rock was a small seaside settlement with a rich history, first recorded in the Book of Dundalk in 1752. The village developed a fishing community in the early 19th century, and by 1841 it had a population of 507, resonating mostly small thatched fishermen cottages. Black Rock Swimming Pool. At the time, many people travelled to Lurgan and Portdown for their swimming pool facilities, which prompted the County Council to invest in building one for the working people. After decades of longing, Finally came the opening of an outdoor unheated swimming pool in Black Rock. While it was a great success in the 60s and produced many swimmers, the water was quite cold and the water was quite cold and it could only be open for a few short summer months. It eventually became unwanted and dangerous, being demolished and replaced with apartments years later. It was a scheme that adapted to construct an outdoors seawater swimming pool. It was estimated to cost $20,000. The pool was the only, at the time, 50-meter swimming pool in the country.
People didn't go on holidays much either, you know, in the factories. You didn't like to, you might go to Black Rock, or you might go somewhere, but what they did, especially unions in the various factories, what they organised was, mainly the factories closed down between the last week in July and the first week in August, particularly shoe factories. And so people didn't go, so the unions now would organise, and CIE would organise day excursions, and maybe it did to Dublin or it did to Belfast, but it was also mystery tours. So you got on the bus and only the driver knew where you were going. And there was also mystery trains as well. And there's a well-known story of, I was told, I don't know the name, now I can't remember, of a couple who were on the honeymoon. And they went to Dublin on the honeymoon. Nobody went further to New York then. It existed, but we didn't go there. And they got on a mystery train. They were in Bray on the honeymoon and they got a mystery train. They think they'd be taken to Chulainn or somewhere like that. They ended up in Dundalk. So they went to Dundalk on the honeymoon and got a mystery train. So they had to hide in the field of pub for the whole day, got the next day. So that's their story about that.
The Adelphi Cinema. The Adelphi Cinema restaurant and ballrooms became a popular spot to live for live music, social gatherings and sporting events in the 1960s. In 2024, it is now the best known as the Adelphi Jade restaurant. The Adelphi became a household name when Dee and Jimmy were able to attract not just the best show bands in Ireland, such as the Royal Show Band and the Dixies, but also some of the best names in the entertainment world. Park Street Cinema in Burnstown. The cinema was a conversion of a bakery shop owned by the Hardys and opened on the 17th of October 1912, just a couple of months after the town hall started showing pictures. Early performances included such as the Babes in the Wood. It was later fitted with a British Talking Pictures BPTP system and had 450 seats. It was run by the Irish Empire Palaces for most of its life. The interior was destroyed by fire on the 21st of February 1961, when the publicly named The Fame of Arby was on the bill. Magnet Cinema. The Magnet Cinema was set up by Father Stokes in the Pioneer Total Abstinence Hall in 1938 and could seat up to 500 people. Films were being screened in the 1960s, but the venue later turned into a bingo hall. The Dundalk Woodpeckers. The first mention of the Dundalk Woodpeckers show band we could find was in the late 1950s, when an advert appeared in the dance band section of the Irish Independent, looking to Phil Davis in 1969. They first advertised themselves as the Wonderful Woodpeckers, which was common back in the day for many bands, i.e. the Mighty Mainlanders. Like many bands, they started out playing relief to bigger show bands, and in and around Dundalk, but before long, were playing up and down the East Coast, and by mid-1961, were playing across the entire country. They were managed by sax player and band leader Mick Laguna from Navan, who had relocated to Dundalk. In 1962, we have read in more recent articles that Jerry Fullen, lead singer, left the band and took 3 other members with him to form the Paragon 7 show band. In mid-1967, Mick left the band to start a new band called Del Ron, which was based in Dublin. Other popular groups at the time included the Dundalk Brass Band, pictured here outside St Patrick's Cathedral and Elderon. Here we have a video from the old Dundalk Society talking about entertainment in the 1960s.
Life then was extremely different in comparison to what Chulainn was like. Before that, when people were much younger, they mentioned already, we weren't Fijians, we were cowboys and Indians. That's the way the ranking came. And if there was something on like a local fair, or the Dundalk show jumping in the Mars Ground, it doesn't come because that was their social group. And to a large extent, they go as families. So your mom and dad would go to we call it church. Does that answer your question? Yes. Like
the Dundalk Maytime Festival. The Dundalk Maytime Festival was first celebrated in 1965 and was called the Grain and Grape Festival. It was an annual event that celebrated the arrival of spring and featured a wide range of activities and events for all ages to enjoy. The Maytime festivities. One of the main events of the Maytime Festival is the showcase of vibrant colours and events being held, such as dancing, singing, and costumes representing various themes. Local community groups, schools, and businesses often participated in the parade, contributing to the festive atmosphere. Throughout the festival, there were usually concerts, live music, performances, art exhibitions, and cultural events being held in venues across town. Food stalls offering a selection of cuisines and local specialties for attendees to sample and enjoy. The Maytime Queen. Many young women were involved in running for the Maytime Queen. If they were choosing for employees, personality, and community involvement, as they went on to play central roles in events like the Maytime Parade. In this photo here shows the wheelbarrow race being held in the Maytime Festival. The Maytime All-Ireland Indoor Football. The Maytime Indoor Football event was held in the Adelphi, and there were legendary games from factories, clubs, and friend groups which created a lively atmosphere. It gave Dundalk the title Ireland's Indoor Football Capital. In this photo here, it shows a football club, St. Ferdy's, going into a game. And this photo shows the bank team after a triumphant win in the Blackrock Skating Hall.
Now, if there's one thing I know about Dundalk, is that we care about our sport. In the 1960s, Dundalk horse racing scene was a vibrant part of the town's sporting and social life. The Dundalk Racecourse was located at Dowdall's Hill, hosted an exciting race meeting, and that drew enthusiasts from near and far. The course's unique all-weather surface was one of the first of its kind in Ireland. It allowed racing to take place in wet weather, setting Dundalk apart as a progressive venue.
Dundalk FC 1963 to 1964. Dundalk entered the 1962-1963 season on the back of an 8th place finish in the league and a 5th place finish in the Shield the previous season. 1962 to 1963 saw the side trained by 1932-1933 title-winning veteran Gary McCord, assisted by Mickey Fox, Colin Belly, and Shane Newton. Team selection was still the responsibility of the club's 10-person management committee. It was Dundalk's 37th consecutive season in the top tier of Irish football. The Dundalk season of 1963 to 1964 was a pivotal time for the club. marked by notable players, managerial changes, and important transfers. Under the guidance of manager Joel Donnelly, the team saw a blend of experienced players and rising talents. They made their European debut in the 1963-1964 European Cup and became the first Irish side to win an away match in Europe in that campaign. And as you can see in the picture, this is Zurich scoring their first goal against Dundalk in the European Cup tie at the Dundalk Park in 1963. Key players like Tommy Rowe, Christopher Barron, and John Murphy showcased their skill, contributing significantly to this team's success. The season also witnessed strategic transfers, including the acquisition of centre forward Peter Gillespie and a left winger Jordan McGrath.
Jimmy Hasty. Hasty was best known for being a Northern Irish footballer and played at the Force for Dundalk in the 60s. He was nicknamed the One-Arm Wonder since he lost his left arm in an industrial accident. Hasty transferred from Newry to Dundalk in November 1960 and made a scoring debut against Cork Celtic. He scored the only goal in the Leinster Senior Cup final only 5 weeks after his debut. He became a star attraction for the team and gained a lot of respect as fame as locals flocked to see him play. He made 170 appearances in 6 seasons at Dundalk and scored 103 goals in total. Overall, he won the league, top 4 cup and Leinster Senior Cup medals, and the 6th highest goal scorer in the club history. He went to join Drogheda for 1 season in 1966 before retiring. Hasty spent his last years residing in Belfast until he was shot dead on his way to work on 11th of October 1974 by the Ulster Protestant Action Group. Unfortunately, no one was ever charged with his murder, but his legacy lives on as a phenomenal member of Dundalk FC. Here's a testimony about sport.
As far as the activities outside school, as Frank says, sports was a big then as you got older, you were either on a football team or something on the sports line. If you weren't, you were trying to find something else. Unfortunately, I wasn't good at sports. When the dancing came in, as I say about the dances, the Adelphi Ballroom, you could have up to 3,000 people in it and nobody drinking. And can you find a dance hall in Ireland that you could put 3,000 people in it and nobody drinking? They came from far and wide. There was buses run that come from Newry, even Armagh, Drogheda. As a result, a lot of people met their partners through that. And also, as what Frank said, you dressed up going to the dance because it was an important night and you wanted to make your impression to the girls. Look at your man, he looks well. The girls were definitely, you could, she's glamorous or whatever. So that was a big thing.
Industry. The closure of the GNR occurred in 1957, and it ended up closing due to the combination of economic factors and political intervention. This led to the closure of the majority of the Great Northern Railway. This was devastating news because this put around 1,200 workers out of a job under such short notice, only being a week and a half. After the GNR's closure, the remaining sections were split between 2 state-owned companies, the CIE, which assumed controls over the lines in the Republic of Ireland, and the UTA, which managed the remaining tracks in Northern Ireland. However, by 1965, the UTA had shut down more than half of the networks under its jurisdiction. Next, the Transport Act of 1958. The Transport Act of 1958 was a capital point in Dundalk's history, because this was the time where Ireland aimed to modernise and regulate various aspects of transportation within the country and established many rules and regulations that still apply to our modern day. It established the Transport Holding Company to oversee state-owned transport enterprises, such as the CIE, which made railways, road transport and shipping under one umbrella. This act sought to rationalise services, improve efficiencies, and address challenges facing Ireland's transport infrastructure one at a time. It also set guidelines for fares, schedules, and safety standards across different modes of Ireland, laying the groundwork for a more coordinated and integrated national transport system.
The Great Northern Railway. The
Great Northern Brewery has been a part of the town since the year of 1960. It was the second largest brewery in Ireland. It was bought by Smithwick's of Kilkenny by Guinness in the late 1950s. Diago's involvement of brewing in Dundalk traces back to the late 1950s when the brewery, then known as the Great Northern Brewery, was acquired first by Smithwick's Ale, then by Guinness. Initially focused on stout and ale production until 1960, the brewery shifted gears to meet the rising demand of lager. Guinness oversaw the modernisation of the brewery into the state-of-the-art lager facility, collaborating with German brewer Hermann Müller and using the local ingredients, notably water sourced from the Cooley Mountains, to craft hop lager. Within a year of its launch, in 1960, hop lager had established itself as a prominent brand across Ireland, extending its reach to Britain a year later. Such success necessitated capacity expansions to keep in pace with demand. Until recent times, the brewery's comprehensive facilities turned out an array of beers and ales: hop lager, Smithwick's Ale, Satan's Pills, Carlsberg, and Morenstein. Approximately 80 employees across various disciplines as production, supply, customer service, technical, and quality control contributed to the brewery's operations. Over the past 2 decades, the Carrick Road site has undergone expansion, witnessing addition of a new brewer house, extra fermentation vessels, a filtration plant, and a carbonation plant integrated into the existing filtration centre. That is a photo of the brewery being built. And
manufactured in Dundalk. In the early 19th century, several shoe shops made their appearance on the main streets of Dundalk, at first selling their products, until later they began adding to newly developing shoe factory centres in England. In 1960, Dundalk factories have been manufacturing mainly for the Irish market, with occasional contracts overseas. Holidays entered into an arrangement with the English company Clark's to make their range of shoes in Dundalk. And because of this was proved to be a very significant development because the operation flourished. However, it was found that existing premises couldn't cope with the demands, and a 20-acre site was obtained through the purchase of the athletic grounds at the Rampart River. Holidays are manufactured up until 1950, mainly for the Irish market, but they began to make a range of shoes for C and J in 1950. Clark mostly aimed at the English market, and as for the English market, it was the build-up in trade that piled the pressure of the company to move to acquire the athletic grounds in 1960, and to seek to build new factories. The firm took its first step towards centralizing its operations the following year when it opened a 20,000 square foot unit on its 30-acre athletic ground site, which was known as the Forest Factory. Soon afterwards, a second unit was built, covering a 25,000 square feet, costing $100,000. Later, a new warehouse and an office block were built on the site. This led to the closing of all of the Holidays' other premises in the town and locate all the operations in the ramparts. Holiday Shoe Factory. Holiday Shoe Factory was founded by Arthur Halliday, who was born in Bramley, Yorkshire, and he always had a passion for shoe manufacturing because of his family's tradition. His name started becoming more known because of his shoe factory called Halliday's, and during the 1970s he employed around 1,250 people, saving many Irish folks and giving them a job to put food on the table. Over time, the company began to gain control over other similar companies, such as Steadfast Shoes. Coláiste Shoe Factory was so notable because upon the GNR's closure in 1957, the factory was able to employ many locals, making the closure of GNR less painful than it already was.
PJ Carroll's. Patrick James Carroll was introduced to the tobacco trade by his cousin James Carroll, who had a tobacco factory on Pearl Street. Patrick James managed to keep the business growing later on. A market was soon established in the locality of Dundalk. In 1840, the market was extended first to other parts of Ireland and then to Scotland and England. By 1850, he had 40 to 50 men and boys employed, and in the year 1864, PJ's third son, Vincent Stannis, entered the business, where his ideas were seen more modern than his father's. This led to a disagreement before retiring and dying in 1879. In the 1880s and 90s, Vincent Carroll initiated an expansion of the premises and a significant re-equipment program that would increase trade. Carroll's first cigarettes were called Anti-Combine, and they were a result of Carroll's stance in the tobacco war. They sold for 3D per packet of 10 until the First World War. In 1909, a major portion of the factory was destroyed by fire, causing the entire factory to be re-equipped and modernized. Production resumed by 1912 and was still under Vincent Carroll's management until his death in 1914. By 1966, Carroll's had their first year where they made £1 million before tax, when the decision to build an all-new factory in Dundalk was made in 1967. Production started in 1970 with the most advanced technology in the world being placed in the new premises. Echo. The building was built with government aid for the General Electric Company of Ireland, based in nearby Dundalk in the early 1960s. Eventually, it was taken over in 1966 by Echo, electronics components company overseas, owned by General Electric, and then became the town's leading employer by 1973, employing around 1,500 people at its peak. It closed in 2006 after a long period of decline. The building was originally 150,000 square feet in size, and planning was received in 2019 to remove one of the bays and divide it into 2 buildings. The company also won the RIAI Gold Medal in 1962-1964. ESB. The benefits of electricity in local authority housing are highlighted in terms of space saving and cleanliness, as well as its reduction of the capital cost of home. 2 such local authority developments featured are Marion Park, Dundalk, built in 1958, and Lona Park, Athlone, which was built around the same time. The Handful name originated in Germany after the company that designed it is a microcar, smaller than average, and only has 3 wheels. The microcar was manufactured by a subsidiary of the Industrial Engineering Company. This was one of the industries that was set up at the old GNR Locomotive Works on the RD Road after the GNR Works closed in October 1958. The ambitious nature of the project is what led to this project selling very well. But unfortunately, the cars ended up not selling as well in the British market because of a resentment that lingered after the Blitz by German bombers of the same name during World War II. So, as you can imagine, cars that were manufactured by the same name of the German bombers were deemed unreliable, and the British consumers wouldn't give the cars any sort of chance. But the Dundalk Hindfoot Company was liquidated after 2 years of production in 1961, and the enterprise became one of the might-have-been successes for the area.
School life. During these times, education in school was quite different from now. One of the major schools that opened was CBS, now known as Coláiste, has a long history that dates back to May 10, 1869, when it was founded. Archbishop Chulainn of Armagh requested the Christian brothers to establish the school because, in his own words, to give the best education that has been offered to the youth of Ireland. In this photo we can see the head state of church at the opening of the Christian Middle School in May of 1964. Dignitaries from the state and church gathered in May 1964 to officially open the €130,000 school addition. This construction project significantly benefited the school. It gave students access to more classroom space, a newly built chapel, and improved amenities. And in this photo we can see a commemoration of well-known teachers that are retiring in the Dundalk's local newspaper. In this video, we test more testimonies from members of the Dundalk Society.
Another example of school. So, well, I think one of the questions, I'll tell you what school is. You visit a stage where you get something right, where you get a cheat, where your coffins back in class, you'll be taken up and you get slaps in the hand. So you have to put your hand out like this, and you get a leather strap, or a cane, which might be about 4 or 5 millimeters thick. And that cane will come down in your hand like this. And you might be punished with 6 slaps. And I can tell you, you're bloody sore, excuse the expression, that you could end up tears coming down your eyes if you did something wrong, or if you got lessons wrong. You would actually be slapped. And if you want to check, I'll come back to this checking in a minute, but if you did something wrong in school, I don't know what your punishment is. Maybe you get angry, you go outside, I don't know what your punishment is. But back in that time, it was physical, and there was a lot of it. And there was nothing to be done about it, because that's the way the school was, every single school. Was it beneficial? Did it work? In some cases, it actually did, yes, because you made sure you didn't get slapped next to it, that sort of stuff. Now, that all changed for other reasons, but it was pretty vicious after the age. I can tell you that because you got a lot of slaps.
Pricing and economics. This car would cost the equivalent of €14,632 in today's money. Although this car would be much more valued than any car you can get for that price today, this is due to the pure influence Fiat had at the time. Here are other cars, all ranging in prices starting from €471 all the way up to $845. The first one on the right, is equivalent to $14,632. The middle one is $21,840, and the last one, the most expensive and the best, at $26,251. This back then was a lot of money, as income weekly was about £9, and that is equivalent to €263 now. Here's a radio box. Back then, people used to carry around these and listen to them in public with other people. The box is £9, which was around €280, and the second box, the most expensive, coming in at £17.5, which is equivalent to €540, which then is nearly 2 weeks of working wage. The other picture is a supermarket called Thomas McCourt, and the products on sale, the prices of these items range from 3 shillings all the way up to 35 shillings. These are examples of advertisements shown in the local Dundalk newspaper in 1960s. They show the evolution of advertisements and advertising laws over the past 60 years. These advertisements show a community-driven approach compared to the more manipulative style of advertising we see today. This further develops a commonly known idea that Dundalk is more community-driven in the past than now, although societies such as the old Dundalk Society aim to get that community effect back. Entertainment in 1964 was limited in television. Many homes did not have a television to themselves, but there was an option to rent one. The above advertisement shows how you would pay 6 shillings per week to rent a TV, whereas now this would value around €18 per week. Jokes in the Dundalk newspaper were common occurrences in the 1960s. This further proves the importance of community in the 1960s and how times were back then.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, we are nearing the end of our presentation. From learning about the history of the Old Dundalk Society, the daily life of the locals, sport in the local area, and local industry, we have all worked hard and tried our best to make this experience enjoyable and educational for you all. And we couldn't have done it without our organizer, Miss Byrne, who helped us to make it perfect, Mr. Noonan with his camera and recording live testimonies, Mr. Fair for answering our questions and taking us to the library to gather more information, and of course to our principal, Mr. Sharkey, for giving us this opportunity to do the project. But before we part, I'd like to share the most important thing we have learned from this project, and that is that Dundalk was a town and is a town full of important and interesting history. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you especially to the Old Dundalk Society for inspiring us to do this project. We hope you enjoyed yourselves, and thanks for listening.